I wired $18,500 for a once-in-a-lifetime Disney World trip, imagining fireworks reflected in my grandkids' eyes, the smell of cinnamon churros on Main Street, and the four of us shoulder to shoulder while the castle glittered like a promise. At the gate, my daughter said, "We didn't get you a ticket, Dad. It'll be easier if you just go home." They hadn't forgotten me. They'd planned to discard me. 14 days later, they walked off their flight at Denver International to find me waiting with a man in a charcoal suit who was about to turn their world inside out. Before we keep going, tap subscribe and tell me in the comments what city you're watching from. You'll help this channel more than you know. Day 0, 8:12 a.m., Denver International Airport, Jeppesen Terminal. The white peaks of the terminal roof echoed the Rockies on the horizon. Families in best day ever shirts swarmed the security line. My granddaughter Jody barreled into me first, mini ears on crooked. My grandson Kai hummed the Pirates of the Caribbean theme like a national anthem. "There you are," my daughter Lena called, half latte in hand. Mark, her husband, hovered beside her, baseball cap, sunglasses on his head, the uniform for a man who expects sun, shade, and confrontation. Ready for the happiest place on earth? I'd been grinning for 3 months. I'd booked 6 nights at the Grand Floridian, club level, 2 rooms, monorail gliding through the lobby like a promise. Genie Plus, airport transfers, character breakfast that cost more than my first car payment in '78. I'd pictured Jody's face when Cinderella waved. I'd pictured Kai's hand in mine on Peter Pan's flight, the two of us never obligated to land. "Dad, quick word." Lena's smile twitched. Storm incoming tone. A pressure drop. We didn't get you a ticket," she said, wiping her lip with a napkin like remorse came in single-use squares. "Everything sold out, seats popping up, and you didn't get me a ticket?" The words felt oversized in my mouth. "It's fine," Mark cut in. "Flights go all day. We'll call you from Orlando. You can catch up tomorrow." "I gave you $18,500, I said, soft. "Numbers can be mirrors if you hold them at the right angle. Everything's booked through my profile." "Dad," Lena whispered, relief sneaking around the edges of her mouth, "it'll be easier if you go home. The kids get overstimulated. Lines, heat. You know how you get. It's a lot. You slow us down. You complicate. You exist." I rolled my suitcase to the airline desk. The agent with perfect hair typed like she knew people's lives hinge on seats. Last name. Pierce. Party of 5. Or 6. She frowned. "I have a party of 4. 2 adults, 2 children. And me." It came out small, and I hated it. "No Calvin Pierce on this booking, sir. No separate confirmation either." I turned. Lena had drifted toward security like momentum had made the decision for her. "Please," she said, the sound containing a plea I used to answer with a checkbook and a casserole. "Go home. We'll FaceTime from the parade." I nodded once because I didn't trust my mouth. I lifted my suitcase off the carpet like a man stepping off a boat. I walked out of the line. "Bye, Grandpa." Jody called brightly. The curse of innocence is that it blesses things undeserving. Day 0, 9:07 a.m. Pena Boulevard. The blue Mustang reared over the highway, eyes glowing red in the pale morning. Denver loves its myths. We tell them until they harden. "Rough morning?" the rideshare driver asked, discreet in his mirror. "Family trip," I said, which in America is both an explanation and a prayer. He whistled. "Say no more." I watched the planes lean like 1,000 people telling me to bend a little more. "Ever have your kindness mistaken for weakness?" I asked. He chuckled. "Buddy, I'm the oldest of 5. I was the family ATM before I ever had a paycheck. People will step on your back if you lay down to be a bridge." I tipped him 30%. Not generosity. A straight line forming inside me. Day 0, 10:01 a.m. My kitchen, Park Hill coffee. Lemon oil. Sunlight on old wood. Evelyn's copper kettle sang the same note it had my whole marriage. I opened my laptop. Chase travel. My bookings. There it was, Disney's Grand Floridian, 2 rooms, club level. Cancellation penalty, 2 nights. $2,750. Less than the roof I split 3 years ago evenly, it never is. Less than my dignity. Cancel reservation. Are you sure? Yes. Ground transport, cancelled. Character breakfast, refundable, cancelled. I forwarded the cancellation email to my paper trails archive, then sent Lena one line. Your accommodations were booked in my account and have been cancelled. Actions have consequences. I turned off my phone. Poured coffee. Around noon, my neighbor Arlene waved from her rose bushes and let herself in from the deck like only widows and widowers do. Back quick, she said, setting basil on my counter. Thought you'd be on a plane. Plan changed. She squinted, nurse reading a monitor. You look taller. Must be the basil. She smirked. If you need me to take the kids sometime so you can nap, I'm around. Old People Club. Day 0, 4:22 p.m. My office. Evelyn believed men go soft without a door to close. I opened the travel binder. Tabs, flights, hotel, ground, park. I slid in the cancellations. Then I added a new tab, incident log. Engineers love logs. Paper remembers what adrenaline distorts. May 3rd, 8:12 a.m. DIA. L. We didn't get you a ticket. M. Flights go all day. Agent. No booking for me. L. It'll be easier if you go home. Emotion. Quiet. Action. Cancelled hotel, ground, breakfast. I underlined easier if you go home. I circled it twice, not as punishment, but as a reminder, love without boundaries isn't love. It's enablement. Day 0, 8:37 p.m., 10:37 p.m. in Florida. The living room. The 407 numbers started like hail. Voicemail, then another. Texts. Dad answer. Kids are crying. We're in the lobby. This is abuse. Call now. The urge in my body said answer. My mind said document. At 11:02 Florida time, I called. What are you doing? Lena's voice was ragged. Drinking coffee. Listening. The hotel says you cancelled. We're in the lobby. This is abuse. Abuse, I repeated, logging it. When you told me to go home, where did you think I'd sleep at Disney? It's not the same. We were going to figure it out later. We needed to grab seats. The kids were. Did you book those flights weeks ago without me? Silence. Mark's voice flared in the background. Tell him if he doesn't fix this, he'll regret it. Is that a threat? I asked, curious as a man measuring a voltage. You've lost it, Mark yelled. We'll deal with you when we're back. We put this on our cards, Lena said, pivoting back to wounded. We were counting on you for souvenirs and meals. I said we'd see. I already paid for rooms, tickets, breakfast. When I cancel a hotel I bought, that's me taking back what I paid for. I'm not punishing children. I'm teaching adults that stealing is wrong. Stealing. She made the words sound violent. We're your family. And I am your father, I said, calm enough to hear my own heart slowing. And a person you told to go home so you could have fewer variables. God, listen to yourself. So dramatic. I laughed. That's rich from the woman who turned Disney into a hostage negotiation. Good night, Lena. I ended the call. The house exhaled. Day 0, 11:41 p.m. My desk. Print call logs. Screenshot texts. Email PDFs to myself. Paper burns, phones die. 11:02 p.m. call. L. Punishing children. M. You'll regret it. We'll deal with you. L. Counting on more money. Action. Document threats. Consider counsel. I opened the leather-bound book Evelyn gave me our first Christmas after Lena was born. Grocery lists. Patient names. Stain removal tricks. Last third blank. I wrote, do not let kindness be mistaken for weakness. You are not a checkbook with legs. I slept like a man dismantled and rebuilt with fewer nails. Day 1, 8:11 a.m. The law office of R. M. Moreno, LLC. Lemon Oil and Resolve. Rafael Moreno shook my hand with a grip like someone who wants to practice law at 80. I know wills are for when you're gone, I said. I want something that matters while I'm alive. Revocable living trust, he nodded. Let's build you a wall. I slid him my incident log. They abandoned me at an airport, then threatened me for canceling a hotel I booked. They turned my love into an invoice. He underlined. Good instinct to write it down. We can disinherit adult children in Colorado. We can restructure assets so there's nothing to contest. He ticked off a plan. Restate the Calvin Pierce Revocable Trust. remove Lena and Mark, add beneficiaries, Denver Public Schools Foundation, buses, science kits, calculators, Colorado School of Mines, scholarships for first-gen and late bloomers, Food Bank of the Rockies, General Ops. TOD and POD on all accounts to the trust. Change life insurance beneficiaries to the trust. Deed my house into the trust. Record it. Homestead unaffected. Revoke all financial and medical POAs naming Lena. Appoint new agents. My sister Nora, then Arlene. Letter to my CPA to stop all loans and reimbursements. Cease and desist template for harassment. Neutral boundaries letter for Lena. We'll also record a video at signing, Raphael said. Capacity on camera. Judges like seeing eyes. Jay the paralegal set up a tripod. The notary stamp thunked like a door closing on a draft. For the record, Raphael said to the camera, state your name and today's date. Calvin Pierce. May 3rd. Do you understand you're removing your daughter and her spouse as beneficiaries and agents? I do. And I'm doing it because love without boundaries isn't love. It's enablement. Final step, he said. Let's go to your bank. They like to see a living man in a chair before they update the invisible pipes. Day 1, 1:36 p.m., Bank Branch, Colfax and Monaco Bank smell like fountain pens and tolerance. We signed, initialed, nodded. The manager apologized for the process and for her cousin's messy probate in Miami. We are all haunted by other people's mistakes. No probate, Raphael said on the way out. Your wishes your way. Day 1, 4:03 p.m. My kitchen roasted chicken thighs, lemony green beans, rosemary potatoes from the bush that refuses to die. A text from my sister, how's the mouse house? We didn't go. Long story. Coffee tomorrow? Tell me you finally remembered your spine, she replied. I'm working on it, I said to the basil, and felt seen. Days 2 to 12, quiet days spring arrived on cue. I bought a meatball sub bigger than most lies. Fixed a sticky window. Oiled the front door until it greeted instead of complained. Replaced the hummingbird feeder and watched a ruby throat hover like a pulse. The 407 calls slowed, then stopped. Midweek, one text, we found an off-site hotel. Epcot was fine. This is on you. I didn't reply. Closures are sometimes doors, not explanations. I sat with my accountant, Pete, under a ficus older than my daughter. We canceled the autopay to Lena's mortgage, just until we catch up for 22 months. We stopped the grocery help that had become a second cart I pushed blind. We drafted a neutral email. As of May 3rd, all gifts and informal support ended. Any finance talk goes through counsel. All future contact must be civil, infrequent, and written. On day 7, Nora and I had coffee. She listened with the kind of silence that fixes. I loved Lena so hard I made it easy for her to be lazy, I said. I hated being the bad guy, so I let her make me a doormat. You made a mistake, she said. Then you fixed it. The people who love you will forgive. The people who loved your money more than you will rage. That's how you know. I wrote letters I didn't send to Jody and Kai about love and maps and fireworks that are quiet. Day 12, I stood by Evelyn's quilting frame, running my hand across her unfinished sunrise over sagebrush. I hope you're proud, I said to a room. I felt foolish. Then I felt better. Day 14, 3:15 p.m., Level 5, East Arrivals. D.N. Raphael stood beside me in a charcoal suit that looked like the idea of a lawyer. People exhaled from the sliding doors. Soldiers, college kids, reunited couples, the dance of suitcases and strollers. On the ground, he said, glancing at an app that knows more than most people. Then they were there. Lena in a best day ever sweatshirt, hair surrendered to the day. Mark with a set jaw. Jody and Kai bright and rumpled. Grandpa. Kai launched at me. I caught him. Jody tucked in and talked about a roller coaster that goes backward, her words tumbling like glitter. Lena saw Raphael, saw the envelope, and stiffened. What is this? Mr. and Mrs. Carter, Raphael said, courtesy wrapped around steel. Raphael Moreno, counsel for Mr. Pierce. I'm here to provide formal notice. What notice? Mark's voice broadcast at a frequency that scares small birds. Raphael handed Lena the envelope. The sound of paper opening felt louder than the airport. Notice of restatement of the Pierce Revocable Trust, she read. Removal of beneficiaries. Revocation of powers of attorney. Beneficiary change confirmations. Dad, you left me at an airport, I said evenly. On purpose. Then demanded more money when I took back a hotel I booked. This is me setting a boundary you ignored. You can't do this, Mark said. We'll contest it. Please do, Raphael said gently. We have a capacity video and a paper trail that would make a judge blush. Adult children can be disinherited in Colorado, and revocable trusts are valid now, not later. Lena looked at the kids, then at me. Think of the kids. I am, I said, meeting Jody's and Kai's eyes. I love you more than oxygen, I told them. That's why I won't teach you that manipulation works. Is he a TV lawyer? Kai whispered, eyeing Raphael. For when you need an attorney after you build your first rocket, Raphael said, flicking him a card like a magician. Mark stepped forward. The air thinned. I stepped into the doorway between us. Enough, I said. Go home. Feed the kids. Sleep. Any talk about money goes through Raphael. If you want to talk later, it's with him present. You have been formally notified, Raphael said. Please refrain from harassing communications. Or we'll send a cease and desist. Lena's face cycled anger, shame, and something like a door opening. She looked at the kids, then at me. Let's go, she told Mark. They left. The automatic doors inhaled them. The airport exhaled a new wave of sunburned strangers who didn't know they'd walked past an earthquake that had cleaned up after itself. Day 15, 9:03 a.m. Calls that matter. I called the Denver Public Schools Foundation. Field trip buses, science kits, calculators, I said. Small things that are actually big. We can do quiet, Patrice said warmly. And we'll send impact reports. Evidence. Next, Colorado School of Mines. Engineering made my life, I said. Help first-gen students and late bloomers. The stubborn ones. We have a program for non-traditional students, the officer said. People who came back after the world knocked them around. I like stubborn. Then, Food Bank of the Rockies. You'll never know exactly who you helped, the man said, but you'll know you helped. That's the point, I said. Put me on a shift. Closed-toe shoes, Thursday? I'll bring my pretend 20 shoulders. Day 15, 1:17 p.m. Paper that stands up. Raphael emailed PDFs with subject lines engineered to lower blood pressure. Recorded deed received. TOD/pod confirmations. Beneficiary change acknowledged. POA revocations filed. He also sent a boundaries letter draft. Effective May 3rd, all gifts and informal financial support have ended. All future requests for money are declined. All communication about finances will be conducted through counsel. Contact is welcome for the children's schedules, provided it is civil and infrequent. Any harassment will result in a cease and desist. Neutral tone. No adjectives. A map in straight lines. Day 16, 3:52 p.m. Arlene's roses filed a deed, I said. Ooh, she grinned. The paper kind of victory. She handed me a rose. For your table. Put it next to the photo. She'd like that. Day 17, 9:11 a.m. The letter. Raphael sent the boundaries letter certified and by email. Lena replied, "This is cruel. Children will suffer." How could you? Raphael answered, "As stated, all financial communications must go through counsel. Mr. Pierce welcomes scheduled, civil contact about the children. He has no obligation to subsidize your household." Mark emailed, "You can't keep our kids from you to punish us. That's abuse. We'll call CPS." I replied, "I want to see my grandchildren. Money is not part of that conversation. I'm available Saturday 10 to 2 to take them to the museum." Raphael is copied for coordination. Raphael added, "Confirm drop-off/pickup details. Remain civil. Use children as leverage and future visits pause." Sometimes the most loving phrase is remain civil. Day 18, 10:02 a.m. The Denver Museum of Nature and Science. Dinosaurs first. Jody shouted. Then space. Then snacks, Kai negotiated. Dinosaurs, space, snacks, I agreed. The Holy Trinity. We stood under a T-Rex. I whispered that Tyrant Lizard sounds like a band I would have loved in college. They giggled. In the planetarium, we lay back like astronauts. I told them when I first saw Saturn through a telescope, a switch in my brain labeled possible flipped. We ate pretzels the size of steering wheels and paid cash. No breadcrumbs later for someone to call me a liar about groceries. Lena arrived at 1:58. Sunglasses inside. Jaw tight. Thank you, I said. That was the only productive sentence. We scheduled the next Saturday. I counted to 5. I love you, I added. True. Difficult. A brick in a foundation I'm finally building correctly. Day 19, 7:28 a.m. The food bank bulk rice. Scoop, pour, seal, stack, a baptism in repetition. A machinist across from me measured with precision I recognized. Hands don't know what to do if they're not counting, he said. By the end, we'd bagged hundreds. My shoulders ached in a way that felt like earning. The coordinator thanked me for the check and the hands. Checks don't sweat, I said. Sweat fills shelves too. Day 19, 1:03 p.m. Evidence Patrice emailed. A photo of second graders stepping off a yellow bus, eyes big, a note from a physics teacher, 23 calculators checked out, pop quiz didn't feel like a punishment, a spreadsheet that made me as happy as a poem. Evidence, I told the empty room. Something unclenched another notch. Day 20, 3:41 p.m. The knock I don't love knocks after 3, they feel like bad news with shoes. Mark on the porch, hands in pockets, contrition arranged on his face. Can we talk? Civilly. If you're here to apologize for abandoning and threatening me, I have a chair. If you're here to negotiate money or reframe the past, the porch is closed. I was wrong at the airport, he said. I thought it would be easier. You thought I would be easier, I said. And when I wasn't, you thought volume would fix it. He nodded. I was raised where shouting got results. I'm trying to unlearn it. You're a father. Your kids are watching your volume. We're in a hole. I'm not asking you to pull us out. I'm asking how to stop digging. Call Pete. I slid a card through the chain. 1.5 hours. He'll make a map. You'll hate the first month. You'll like the 12th. Thank you. Mark, I added, opening the door another inch, don't ever threaten me again. Not because I'm old. Because I won't teach my grandkids that men who love them also scare them. He met my eyes. I hear you. Day 21, 10:09 a.m. Raphael's conference room, 1 mediated conversation. Neutral ground. Clear rules. No money talk. No blaming. Speak in turn. 1 hour. End on logistics. I was wrong, Lena said. At the airport. It was cowardly. I made you a variable. I was wrong, Mark said. I escalated. I'm sorry. I was wrong, I said. 4 years. I made money say yes because I hated saying no. I taught you to expect yes when it didn't exist. I'm not your ATM, I added. I'm your father. I'll spend time. I won't spend to avoid discomfort. We scheduled a month of Grandpa Saturdays, museums, botanic gardens, the zoo, board games, and spaghetti at my house. Drop-off and pick-up times like appointments that won't move. At the door, Lena lingered. I miss Mom, she said. She could translate us. I miss being translated, I said. We smiled like people who are not okay and are okay both. Day 22, 5:22 p.m. Dinner for 1, by choice spaghetti, garlic bread a cardiologist would sigh at. 1 plate. Accuracy, not absence. I toasted the mantle. To boundaries, I said. And the people who taught me how to love without erasing myself. Day 24, 9:48 a.m. A note on the porch. Dear Grandpa, Jody wrote in pencil with heroic loops, thank you for the space movie and the big pretzel. Can we go see the rocks that glow next time? Love, Jay. Under it, Lena's hand, Dad, I'm trying. Thank you for making it simple, and for not making the kids carry our mistakes. I'm reading a book about boundaries that makes me mad, then makes sense. See you Saturday. L. Day 25, 11:31 a.m. Teacher email a photo of a girl holding a calculator like a passport. She told me her mom cried when she said she didn't have to share anymore, the teacher wrote. She said she felt like she had a right to the math. I cried too, privately, then told you about it later because men deserve to normalize the water built into our faces. Day 27, 10:02 a.m. The botanic gardens. We found the rocks that glow. Crystals, Jody whispered. Kai decided he'd be a cactus when he grew up. They don't need much and they poke if you mess with them. I didn't argue with his theology. Day 28, 4:44 p.m. Confirmations everything's recorded and retitled, Raphael emailed. Will updated with a no contest clause. Capacity video archived. Reminder, don't store originals where only you can access them. I watched myself on the video say, boundaries are instructions for how to love me correctly. It felt like watching a man I'd be friends with. Day 29, 6:30 p.m. Pot roast. Pearl's pot roast tasted like childhood Sundays. We told stories that weren't traps. When I left, Pearl hugged me and whispered, good. Be a soft place for those kids. Be a wall for your daughter. Day 30, 8:01 a.m. Men's breakfast, cut my boy off for a year, Don said, salting his eggs like forgiveness. He learned to balance a checkbook out of spite. Best year of our lives. My daughter said I abandoned her by moving to a smaller place, Harry said. I told her I abandoned the utility bill. Then I taught my grandson to change oil. You can only teach what you know. We nodded. Not heroes. Not villains. Just men who stopped auditioning for roles that didn't fit. Day 33, 1:12 p.m. The washing machine, it made a spoon in a blender sound. 10 years ago, I would have cursed, called Lena, offered to pay for hers if they'd let me use it. Today, I watched 3 YouTube videos, replaced the pump, and FaceTimed Kai to show him the impeller. Grandpa, he said, awed, you did a fix-it. Day 34, 9:59 a.m. The line holds Mark booked the budget session with Pete. Pete texted, zero-based budget. Digital envelopes. $1,000 emergency fund in 60 days. Cut dining out 70% for 90 days. He'll hate it. He'll survive. Mark emailed me a photo of a forearm-sized ice cream cone and a debt payment screenshot. Feels like winning, he wrote. It is, I replied. It just looks boring until it doesn't. Day 36, 6:14 a.m. Sunrise over the city. I drove to City Park with a thermos. The lake threw back the world like it was proud. I booked a cabin in Estes Park for the following week. Not to run away, toward. Colorado people recalibrate in the mountains. We look at rocks older than our worst day and learn how to breathe again. Day 41, 10:22 a.m. Meadowview Cabin, Estes Park, a real key. Pine cleaner and the confidence of a floor that survived winters. A bighorn sheep watched me like I was TV. I made coffee and wrote 2 lists, things I do not owe and things I love enough to protect. The first was longer. The second was precise. Jody's laugh 2 breaths past silly. Kai's conductor hands over Legos. Evelyn's kettle at 6:42 a.m. The word evidence. Day 41, 9:47 p.m. Stars. The 3-inch telescope Evelyn bought when we were broke still found Saturn. Rings crisp as a cartoon. I whispered Vega, Deneb, Altair, and felt my pulse match an older clock. Boundaries aren't walls. They're orbits. You decide your gravity and keep moving around what matters. You don't crash into people to prove you're close. You prove it by staying. Day 42, 7:05 a.m. Bear Lake Loop. I fell into step with a retired principal. 2 sets of rules, he said. The ones on paper and the ones in my wallet. The paper ones worked when the wallet stayed closed. My wife said kindness is not weakness, I told him. Good woman, he said. You listening yet? I'm trying. Day 42, 2:28 p.m. Incoming, handled letter from their counsel, Raphael said, voice light. Demands to reinstate powers of attorney and restore beneficiary status. Threatens to expose you for elder neglect if you don't. Of whom? I asked, amused. Exactly. I replied, capacity video on file. Colorado law supports the changes. Bad faith threats will trigger a fees request. I also reminded them using children as leverage is a poor strategy in court and worse in parenting. Thanks for being the guardrail, I said. Keep driving, he said. I'll thump if needed. Day 43, 11:15 a.m. The library. We stood in line behind a boy in a cape applying for his first card. The librarian rang a brass bell when Jody and Kai were official and the whole building clapped. You get to take the world home in a bag, I told them. They chose books on rocks and trucks. A purple pencil crisis flared and extinguished itself when I offered a choice. Purple now for 5 minutes or green now and purple later. They negotiated with themselves. That's the best kind of politics. Day 44, 5:28 p.m. Budget class Pete texted. He listened. He'll survive. Next session booked. Mark emailed, we're cooking. The house smells like onions and hope. Proud of the onion, I wrote. Keep stirring. Day 45, 9:30 a.m. Swim lessons, can you take Jody to swim class? Lena asked. Not, can you pay? Progress is a quiet furniture rearrangement. Rules bad. Jody asked after, hair wet, windows down. Rules are maps, I said. Bad maps tell you to drive into a lake. Good maps help you find one and remember a towel. Day 46, 2:12 p.m. The almost cease and desist that wasn't a flurry of texts from Lena, fear spiral about a car repair, then, never mind. We figured it out. Sorry for the flood. See you Saturday. The world didn't end when I didn't catch a ball. Someone else did. I applauded from the couch. Day 47, 11:42 a.m. Buses. Patrice sent a photo, 3 yellow buses at a curb. Trips we had to cancel last year, she wrote. Funded. I forwarded it to Raphael, Exhibit A for why we build walls. He replied, sustained. Day 48, 10:09 a.m. Church sale cast iron owl bookends for $4. Brand new mini ears for $1. I left the ears on the porch with a note, for when you want to feel ridiculous and important at the same time. Day 49, 3:26 p.m. Coffee and a question. How did you live a whole adult life without borrowing? Lena asked across a table where pastries look like they file taxes. I did borrow, I said. From my piece. Then I paid it back with interest. I applied for a promotion, she said. I had to sell myself without sounding like a lie. It's not a lie, I said. You're the woman who runs mornings with 2 kids, a job, and a car with a failing alternator. Give a corporation that woman for 8 hours and they win. Will you mark up my resume? I'll mark it up like a 7th grade English teacher. You'll hate me for an hour and love me for a week. We laughed. Her hug felt like remembering blood is not glue, but it holds anyway. Day 50, 11:18 a.m. DI again, different. I picked up Nora. The arrivals board flickered. The doors breathed. My chest didn't tighten. You look lighter, she said. Do you feel it? I do. Day 52, 1:22 p.m. Letters of intent. Raphael had me sign letters of intent for each charity. Plain language. Why? Because buses shouldn't be the reason curiosity stays home. Because a late bloom isn't late. Because hunger makes fools of saints and sinners alike, and I want fewer fools. Because my grandchildren taught me the brightest fireworks are quiet. The notary stamped the page like a gavel blessing a future. Day 53, 4:47 p.m. A check. I didn't write school slip for fees. I mailed a check to the school's general fund instead of to Lena and told her after. She said, thanks, and meant it. Day 54, 8:09 a.m. Hardware store theology. You know, Gus said, ringing up my screws, things don't fix themselves. He knocked $1 off the level because sometimes kindness is a coupon. Day 57, 3:33 p.m. Parent-teacher nighttime. I'd texted Lena. Money I don't. We sat in small chairs, asked questions that weren't traps, and left with a plan that felt like citizenship. Day 59, 10:08 a.m. The last museum Saturday, for now elevator, because numbers changing is satisfying. Diorama Prairie. Pretzels with no metaphor. We bought a Saturn postcard. I wrote, Dear future you, this is what a boundary looks like from far away, a ring that holds the planet together. Love, Grandpa. Kai drew SATN with rings. Day 60, 6:20 p.m. Epilogue, fireworks, quiet. I grilled a steak the way Evelyn taught me. Salt like snowfall, pepper like a rumor, rest it like it did a hard day. I toasted our life in frames. I thought about that morning at DIA when I picked up my suitcase and walked out, about buses and calculators and bags of rice, about a man in a charcoal suit who said, You have been formally notified, about my grandchildren, who will remember pretzels and planets and not a fight I refuse to have on their backs. People want a moral because we like our lives to rhyme. Take this, love is not a blank check. Boundaries are instructions for how to love you correctly. If you teach people you'll tolerate anything, they'll hand you everything you said you didn't want. If you teach them you'll stand where you said you would, they'll learn where to meet you. A year from now, a kid I'll never meet will sit in physics because the right calculator didn't have to be shared. A second grader will board a bus because someone bought gas on purpose. A pantry shelf will bow under bags of rice an old man measured with hands that used to build bridges and finally learned the other kind. That feels like fireworks. The quiet kind, the permanent kind. If this story found you at the right time, hit like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from and one boundary you learned to set too late. If you're in the messy middle, here's your permission slip. You're allowed to close the door. You can always open it later. Or not. Thanks for watching.